First, there was the Savage preview, and no Blackmage changes of note were noticed. Then there was the 7.1 preview of Chaotic, where we noticed a second charge of ley lines and the return of Ice Paradox and instant cast Despair. And now 7.2, 20-second ley lines, no 15-second timer for Astral Fire or Umbral Ice. Paradox does not grant a second stack of Astral or Umbral. The cast times of Fire 4 and Flare Star cut in half. Hey everyone, this is Nam, and today we're going to be talking about the direction of job design in 14 with the fresh wound on my Blackmage heart from these ridiculous changes coming our way. I have to ask myself the question, where is this ship sailing? Where is it going? I took a long time to read a lot of old articles and interviews and to review all of the changes that have happened to Blackmage since ARR. And while I won't bore you with a lot of the details because honestly, it's not all that exciting until Shadowbringers and a little bit of Stormblood for Blackmage, the reality is most of it has been quality of life for a while. Quality of life and movement, and it's almost like we've gotten too much quality of life to the point where we've lost our way. We're at a point in 14 now. I don't know if you're aware, but a lot of people are unhappy with Dawn Trail. A lot of people say the story sucks. A lot of people don't like the characters, the writing. A lot of people don't like the job design. And the thing about job design that really makes it bad is that the jobs are the most critical system of the game, the most prevalent, the most, I guess, important, because the job system is the vessel with which we interact with the entire game. All of it is through the job system. Jobs should make us feel proud to play them and have some unique reason why we picked this job instead of another job. That my job can do X. My job is great at X. This game used to be very, very good about that. I mean, let's take Ninja and Stormblood, for example. Actually, you know what? Let's take Ninja and Heavensward, for example. Heavensward Ninja had all of these different tools for managing aggro. Lots of tools for like giving TP to people who needed TP, giving, taking aggro from one person and then throwing it onto another. Ninjas had a lot of utility outside of their trick attack and DPS. That was something only Ninja could do. Ninja was cool because a good ninja didn't just do damage. They managed the party's aggro and they preemptively prevented people from running out of technical points, TP. Pretty cool. Blackmage has always had a unique stance in the game. It's actually a big part of the Final Fantasy XIV culture. The memes of, oh my god, that Black mages never move, Black mages stand in AoEs, Black mages die, Black mages do no damage, Black mages do all the damage. Those are staples of the Final Fantasy XIV ecosystem. Everybody knows and has encountered those jokes, those realities, whatever you want to call it. Everybody knows Blackmage to the point where, like, if you've been playing Blackmage for a while, you remember the times where people outright ban Blackmage from their parties. Or, you know, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's received messages, you know, being like, you're never going to be good at the game because you're a Blackmage, you know? I'm sure that we've all been to the point where everyone's like, just swap your job. Just give up. Stop it. Right? It's a part of the culture. Blackmage has such an impact on everyone around them, for good or for ill, you know, and that's part of going on that journey. That is a staple of job design. The impact of the job design is so strong. that everybody knows what Blackmage is. Dragoon, being the floor tank. Always dead because they're getting stun locked in their jumps. It's not good job design, but everybody knows about it, right? It's something that Dragoons struggle to get away from. Everyone knows a Dragoon. Everyone knows a Blackmage. Everyone knows what a Blackmage is. Everyone knows what a Dragoon is. That's job identity. Now, how you express job identity goes far beyond that. Dragoon, you know, they've got dragons and they've got jumps. Those are two really, really cool things. And being able to like tether to a teammate. There's that Dragoon tether. We've got a Dragoon in the party. That's a thing that Dragoon does. Is they jump, they have dragons, and they tether to people, right? So you always know we have a Dragoon. Back in the day, slashing debuff, piercing debuff. You had jobs give certain debuffs. I think Ninja gave slashing. Is that right? Ninja used to give like slashing debuff. We got to take a Ninja. Why? Because they buff the tank's damage. Why? Slashing debuff in their own, and you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's reasons that jobs stick out from other jobs. Everyone has a part to play in the puzzle, but at the same time, we have a game where you can play any job. You want to assemble your Avenger team however you want to do it. If it's Bard, Ninja, Black Mage, Summoner, cool. If it's not, cool. There's options. And there's gives and takes, right? We're getting away from all of that in 14. We're getting away from job design, from job balance that feels unique and powerful. It almost feels like we're being cut into cookie cutter templates, almost broken down to our most basic parts. Now, if there's anything I know about life, it's that when something tries to break you down to your most basic parts, it's usually for the intention to rebuild you as something new. Is that what's happening with 14? Is that why we're seeing things like the homogenization of Black Mage now to line up with things like Monk, Dragoon, Summoner, Dark Knight, etc., etc., etc.? I think 14 has a problem of trying to plan for the future, build a glorious new fun future that takes risks and tries new things, but at the same time has the current problem of needing to make sure that those changes are not too abrupt and they come iteratively. And the problem with iterative change is that you only have 5% of the puzzle. And sometimes that puts you in the waiting room for good change. And it sucks to be there because the change you're getting sucks. We're going to read a few articles, and I'm going to give you my thesis on what I think is happening with 14 and what I think will happen with 14. Let's read a few articles, everyone. Bear with me. Read this one. Yoshi-P. A video game should, of course, have an element of stress. How to handle that properly is extremely difficult. For example, in a side-scrolling game, if there aren't any holes you can drop down into, if you miss a jump, of course the game would lose its stress, but it would also lose its fun. Speaking of 14, I would like to restore that part a little bit. If we do that, we can give everyone a better challenge, in a good way, than ever before. Yoshi-P seeks to restore the challenge of the game, but what does he mean by that? What does he mean by challenge? Yoshi-P. That's something we're currently discussing with, quote-unquote, the team, wink. It's a discussion we're really having right now with the other members of the team, wink, about literally what we're doing to make people understand that there's an evolution in jobs. An evolution in jobs, full stop. An evolution in jobs, an 8.0 job rework. That's the conversation. What does it mean? In other words, increasing a level cap number is one thing, but what interests people and what somehow brings them closer to their characters is the feeling that they're evolving, that their character is going from Bulbasaur to Ivysaur, that their character is growing, becoming more and more powerful. So how do we make people feel that their character is getting stronger? With numbers, it's a bit difficult. Do we keep this level cap idea? Is there also some materia? How do we strengthen the character in a way that feels impactful? How do we know we're growing? Now we're really thinking about what we could do. Do we keep the level cap or do we find another way to progress? Or, on the contrary, continue leveling up? But with other things on the side, we're exploring all the different avenues at the moment. The other point we're discussing at the moment is that we have indeed reached the rather significant milestone of level 100 with Dawntrail, but we've also reached a level of complexity in job use that's almost becoming a critical threshold, where people no longer have enough keys or buttons to be able to use all their actions. So what do we do? Do we continue in this direction of increasing complexity with ever more new actions, ever more keys, making them more complex for some players to use? Or on the contrary, are we thinking about a new way of playing jobs? A new way of playing jobs. Now remember what I said, jobs are the vessel with which we interact with the entirety of FF14. It is the ship on the ocean, and if there's a hole in the ship and the ship is sinking, it doesn't matter how sweet the ocean tastes, you will still be drowned by it. However, a new way to play jobs is an interesting thing to say. So that's the kind of discussion we're having at the moment, and the kind of thinking we're doing to try and find a solution that pleases everyone. 8.0 job rework, a new way to play jobs, adding stress back to the game. These are the words we have. Let's keep going. This one's a bit longer, bear with me. Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail has arrived with mixed reception, as we all know. Some stuff and blah, right? 14 is mechanically stuck in a rut. Direct competitors are heaping on new experimental mechanics, doing harebrained modes like Mop Remix. I think this comparison is dumb. Not much has changed on Atheris. This is pretty true. So everything's the same. 14, simply put, innovates pretty slowly. That's not to say that we haven't had new ideas, but they've also had their own share of issues, like Island Sanctuaries were cute, but then they were kind of passive, right? This guy sat down and spoke with Yoshi-P. And Yoshi-P says yes. When it came to the previous Hydaelyn and Zodiac saga, this was something that started before I took charge of project on Final Fantasy XIV. Saga didn't finish in Endwalker, but it's with this new expansion that we've reached 100, and so in that regard, 7.0 is like a culmination. We've been able to carry out various preparations and now have a stable state of things in the game. It is stable, but also boring. Moving forward with the next expansion, I want to incorporate more changes. I don't want to take a conservative approach, but rather I want to provide an experience that contemporary gamers can enjoy. To that end, I would like to incorporate various changes. We'll also protect things that need to be protected, but we would very much like to try out new things. We're discussing various possibilities right now in the team, winky face. So I'm really excited about that. So here's the thing about that. It sounds like Blackmage was not protected. Does it sound like Blackmage was not protected? Because it sounds to me like Blackmage was not protected. At all. Why? Why would you say this and then do that? Why would you say A and then do B, right? I think it's because of context and intentional direction on what is it he's talking about protecting. They want to take risks. One last one. Almost there. As 14 grows through more expansions, the level cap increases. The upcoming Endwalker, this is an older one, due out this November is no exception. Let's talk to Yoshi-P. In Stormblood, we were looking at different icons or buttons to fix the button bloat issue, controlling to execute these actions. Amongst the team, winky face, we did determine that there is an upper limit of how many buttons can be assigned to the hotbar. Whenever we are considering the different abilities that we add, we try to evenly distribute it so it'll fit within that cap. I do feel like right now we are at that limit. He goes on to talk about the difficulty between assigning buttons for healers or DPS, but the gist of the issue here is that jobs have too many buttons for their internal systems. Too many skills for the hotbar, can't put enough buttons on the bar, button blow. And in particular, magic DPS they talk about being a huge problem for this, as well as healers, right? So they try to do things like paradox to add skills without taking up buttons. I'm going to show you all my MS Paint and explain what's going on here after reading these articles. Yoshi-P seems to have three buckets that we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with job balance, identity, and the adding stress idea to jobs. The encounter design, adding that stress to battle content and engagement, and then progression beyond level 100 and a new way to play jobs without introducing button bloat. Those are the three challenges we have before us. Adding stress and identity to jobs, adding stress and engagement to encounters, finding a new way to progress our characters without introducing button bloat. Right, so what do we see from job balance and identity right now? We see picto balance issues in jobs in general are getting stripped down and they feel yucky, right? I think they had a huge ego problem with avoiding nerfs at all costs. Now we're getting the homogenized / dumbed down version of jobs. And they have this whole, like, there's too many buttons. They've been spouting off this too many job buttons for years, which is why Summoner got nerfed into the ground and reworked, right? Why we've stripped down almost every job is because of this too many buttons issue. But we as players don't see too many buttons. What are you talking about? Too many buttons. Where are these buttons coming from? Are these buttons only in development? Are these buttons that you want to add but you can't and you keep having to stop yourself because if you do add them, then it really would be too many buttons. Maybe you really want to add a lot of buttons to these classes. Maybe you want to do new things that we don't know about. And that would make too many buttons. What too many buttons are you talking about? Encounter design, battle content, stress and engagement, dungeons, trials, and savage was too easy or just too reliant on body checks for artificial, well, not really artificial, but for its difficulty, right? So what have we seen from this? We saw they readjusted the boss hitbox size. We saw they got wrong the boss HP and DPS check issues. And we saw them do good changes in dungeons and trials. The trials in Dawn Trail are really good. They're fun. They're repeatable. The mechanics are engaging. What else is good? The dungeons, while there's still room to improve there, are more fun than dungeons in the past. Do you guys remember Shadowbringers dungeons? Like Expert Roulette week 1 or whatever? Expert Roulette was so good at the start of Shadowbringers, man. When you had like Anamnesis Anida or whatever, the water one with the shark pull before the shark bosses, and you would like wall to wall on tank and everyone would die all the time. So fun, dude. It was so fun. Or what's that dungeon with the long fall with like oh, so good. Like this Expert Roulette was banging at the start of Shadowbringers, right? Dungeons were peak. Music was good. Dungeons were fun. The pulls were a lot of fun. Big pulls, right? Massive wall-to-wall pulls, right? To the point where people were like stretching their cooldowns to the very limit, to survive. It was fun. Sometimes you wiped, but it was fun. You're like, fuck, we didn't do it, right? They made good changes to go back to that. Better mechanics. Like, I was surprised at some of the dungeon mechanics, especially on caster. You're like, oh my God. Move. It was fun. The dungeons were fun. It's just a shame that a lot of them don't end up in Expert Roulette because it was not the Expert Roulette dungeons that were the most fun, in my opinion. And then we look at progression beyond level 100, the new way to play jobs without introducing bloat. A problem 14 has had for a long time is that there's no variation or creativity for pretty much any job. Every Dragoon is the same Dragoon, right? It really doesn't matter what you do. You are the same Dragoon as every other Dragoon. You're the same ninja. You're the same warrior. You're the same gunbreaker. You might change your spell speed a very small amount, but you are the same gunbreaker as every other gunbreaker. The only exception was Blackmage. Non-standard Blackmage versus standard Blackmage. Or in Shadowbringers, Fire 3 opener Blackmage, Blizzard opener, B3 no B4 Blizzard opener, pre-pull ley lines with Fire 3 opener. Those were differences in Blackmage that don't exist anymore. you had different types of black mages. There's no more creativity with non-standard. There's no more variation. This is a problem that the game has had for a long time. And now we see that they're removing extra buttons seemingly to template the jobs as a short-term solution. Imagine the problem of a developer who needs to redesign from the ground up the jobs to prepare a new progression system for your jobs. Every job has to feel like that job and have a new like identity, or maybe the same identity for that job that really makes you proud to play that job, something it can do that other jobs don't, right? And you have to prepare for that without breaking the game, without breaking the jobs in their current state. And you have to iteratively change to work towards that. Cutting abilities and stripping down to the bare parts would accomplish that goal. It would. But it would suck because you're in that waiting room of change, right? You're like, why is my job just losing stuff? Why are you taking away things? And then your words are saying, we don't want to take away things. We don't want to nerf Paladin Invul. We don't want to nerf Picto. We don't want to take things away. We only want to give. But then you keep taking away my abilities. You keep taking away my challenges. Why are your words saying A and your actions doing B, developers? This is a huge communication flaw with Square Enix. Because you're saying all the right things, and yet your actions are saying the opposite. If I was in a relationship with Square Enix, I'd have some concerns right now. Why are you saying A and doing B? You know? Hold on a second here. What's going on? What's the update? All right? This is a problem. However, it's not the kind of problem that is bred from incompetence or from ignorance or from arrogance. This is not a neglect issue. This is a plan that's not working out as well as it was thought to. This was a well-intended plan. You can tell, like, these are the same people who saved 1.0 to ARR and saved ARR to Heavensward. Not saved, I guess, but, you know, all in one go. These are the same people. The same people who did Stormblood. We love Stormblood. Same people did Shadowbringers. We love Shadowbringers. Same people did Endwalker. Endwalker was good. Not perfect, but good. So what's going on here? I think they got too close to the sun, and then they tried to pull away from it, and they pulled too far away. Now they're realizing they're cold. That's what I think is happening. I think that our job identity in this game, our job balance, our job design is being stripped down to prepare for 8.0. I think we all know there's a big job rework. There's another article, I couldn't find it. I found it earlier, then I closed it on accident, then I couldn't find it again. There's another article that talks about how they didn't want to overwhelm the player base by introducing stress back into the encounters and stress back into the jobs at the same time, so they decided to space it out. Dawn Trail is pushing hard on that content stress, and we can see that because of the content is really, really good. We don't have enough of it, but the raid is really, really well received. Super fun. One of the most fun we've had in a long time in a Savage encounter. The dungeons, really, really good. Still got work to do, but really, really fun. That big cactus one, the Bouncy Council. Dude, the Bouncy Council is going to go down in history as one of the best final dungeon bosses ever. It's ridiculous. I love it. People die on that maze all the time still, and you're like, you didn't make it. You didn't make it. Or you're like, ooh, we all have to stack, but what if I don't? You know what I mean? Like, it's such a good one. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Can I sit in the ley lines? Do I really have to stack? And then it's like, oh, it randomly picked me for the stack and I'm alone. You know, like, just, it's a good final dungeon. Start to finish, that's a good dungeon. You know, dungeons are good. Could still got some work to do on some of them, but oh man, there's some bangers. Music's great. The game is not bad. The ship that we sail, the vessel that we interact with the game is broken. So that changes. The lens through which we see everything else in the game is not good. And that will mar it a little bit, won't it? It'll make it like, you know, like if you look through dirty glasses, you have blurry vision. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is. And so they need to fix the job system. And that's why I say we're in this waiting room, because like with the jobs feeling bad, everything else will feel bad. In particular with Blackmage too, when you take classics and take away what has made them what they are for so long, and that pursuit and that journey and that mastery, and you're just deleting that, making it easy, it's so easy to buy into the narrative that you're just catering to all the casual players. You're all just making it as easy as possible. When you know that the Blackmage community is all about the pursuit of mastery of that job, and you're removing that. It's like that meme where like Square Enix is like, do a regular rotation, and then Black Mages are like, well, I guess I'll just do 16 Fire Force in the opener now. Thanks for speeding it up, I guess. You know, like I saw a comment. Someone was like, the more you try to kill non-standard, the stronger it gets. I mean, it's not getting stronger. It's like weaker every time, but it's alive still somehow. You know, the amount of times we've said non-standard is back, baby, right? Like, that's just you're fighting against something you should be embracing. I know it's hard. And I see beyond the veil as well. Beyond the veil of what is taking place here, there's 100% boxes that the devs have developed their way into that they're trying to get out of. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV has thrived off of a strict, clean rating environment for so many years. And a lot of that was because of what we learned in Heavensward and mixing it up for Stormblood and then refining it with Shadowbringers and then with Endor. Where like we got into this routine of things being very much like you can bring any job to a raid, and that raid will be very not buggy. It's going to be clean. It's going to have mechanics. You're going to have to deal with the latency, but everything's going to work pretty much except for like Harrowing Hell. P10s, you know, which even that was a lot of damage, but doable. But that was a lot of damage, you know. So for the most part, like things are good, and they're static. You know, you can depend on them. But everything is on a strict timer in these fights because everything is around the 2-minute meta now. Ever since Stormblood or whatever, right? 2-minute meta, 90-second cooldown, 2-minute cooldown, 1-minute cooldown. Like that. Yeah, not 90-second anymore. 1 minute and 2-minute cooldowns, and that's it. And like making everything from jobs movement skills to burst to cooldowns on healing and tank mitigation, everything is so set in stone that that's what makes the production of a Savage fight feel like all the instruments in the orchestra just come together. The tank mitt goes where the tank mitt goes. The healers heal where the heals go. The DPS burst. Everybody does the thing, and it works out like a dance, like a song, like a 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? Which is how I taught T for years, right? How do you do your tornado beats? It's a 1 2 3. Go here, go there. 1 2 3 every time. The whole game is that way, right? And I think that's developed them into a box where it is very, very difficult to experiment and very, very difficult to do new things with weird timings and weird things without it feeling awful because everything is so set up. I mean, Blackmage's 15-second timer, they've got to do something with that 15-second timer. Something has to happen. If you remove it, nothing's dependent on that anymore. Right? And honestly, Umbral Soul was their way of trying to fix that to begin with. So now they said, just get rid of it. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a huge mistake. But I can see how some job designs are getting in the way of raid boss design. I could definitely see that, especially when they want to do something new, right? So I think that they're breaking us down to rebuild us again. All the evidence is there for it. It's not copium. It's not, oh, don't worry, guys, it'll get better. Like, there is an actual plan and evidence here to suggest that it is going somewhere. Now, listen, these are human beings, guys. They could fuck it all up and fail forever. 100%. This could go terribly. We're dealing on mystery information. I wouldn't sit here and tell you to hold on to hope and just believe, guys, in the power of friendship, you know? No, like, if you're unsubbed, I get it, dude. I get it. 100%. However, keep your eyes open and see if they succeed. It's not guaranteed that they will. But you can see that their words have an intention and a plan, and they plan to go there. And we don't have all the insight and all the knowledge of what's going on and what conversations are being had. There's a lot we don't know as consumers of the product. So I just say keep your eyes and ears open. If you're upset and unsubbing now, I don't blame you at all. I don't. They took away Blackmage, bro. I'm pissed. I'm upset. That bothers me. But I want to see what happens. I might get more disappointment. I might. Oh. Well. I guess we'll see. Anyways, guys, I gotta go. I've ranted long enough. I think the job design in 8.0 redesign is going somewhere. But until then, this is him.